Hey guys, so today we're talking about what it's like to tour on a low budget gig. Quick disclaimer, I say the word situation like 100 times in this video. Sorry. Now what I mean by low budget isn't necessarily the pay, it's low budget in that you're not on a private jet, you're not on a Prevost bus, you're usually in a 15-passenger van or an SUV with a trailer, sometimes a van with a trailer, depending on how big the gig is or how many people are on it. They're cutting corners as much as they can because like the pay is not that great, the artist isn't that established, and there's just a lot of situations that you're gonna run into being an up-and-coming artist. Now, that's not to say they're not super talented, but there's like something like 3,000 artists at any given day in Nashville, like actively trying to get signed. So of those 3,000, probably only maybe like 100 have a bus gig, you know? I mean, so it's just something that you have to deal with. So when you first moved to town, so I'm speaking in Nashville, right? But I'm sure this is the case in LA or New York or any place. If you're touring, chances are you're not going to be on a bus. Chances are you're not going to be on a flight. And that's totally fine. It's no disrespect to you as a musician or the gig that you're on. It's just that budgets are not what they once were. And labels are not willing to shell out money for a person that's not established. So when you go out, usually you're going to meet at like a Kroger or a Walmart or something like that, or maybe somebody's house. You're going to load in, you're going to take your gear, usually not nearly as much as you would be on if you were on like a, say like a stadium, you know? So like if you're a drummer, rather than rocking like 2 floor toms, you might only do 1 floor tom. If you're a guitar player, you might take, a 110 instead of like a big Marshall stack. You're not on a bus. You're not necessarily getting like a hotel room to yourself. You might have to share it. You might be crashing on the floor. You might be crashing with somebody's parents.
Sure. Oh, interesting.
For example, there was a gig I was on where whenever we would travel through Alabama, we would stay with this dude's parents. Now, his mom and dad were the nicest people, and I actually got my own room. I was very, very fortunate. But in my own room, the room that I would stay in, I called it the doll room. And it had probably 10 or 15 of his mom's porcelain dolls, like Victorian dolls. Yeah, so I was thinking like Annabelle was gonna start whispering to me in the middle of the night. It was a kind of creepy situation. I've been in other gigs where like we would stay at somebody's house, like it was like a college house. We're going streaking, yes! And it was so dirty, I didn't want my face to touch like the couch, so I would sleep like on my arm or like my jacket or something like that. You really have to be flexible. Sometimes, aside from not having a hotel room or crashing on some rando person's floor, sometimes you might just drive back home. Like in Nashville, it's not that bad because most places you're going are within like a 10-hour drive. So you can hopscotch the driving. Download a podcast and just go for it. Make sure you're coffeeed up. Make sure you're not going to fall asleep on the road. That's super important. You want to be safe. I do that all the time, or I did all that. I did do that all the time when I would tour. There was one gig situation I'll tell you guys about. It was in Michigan, I want to say. Maybe Southern Illinois. I can't remember. It was somewhere where it was like 8 or 9 hours away. And the gig I was on was with this guy who had a tendency to get really, really drunk and then just start songs. He wouldn't count it off. He wouldn't tell us what key it was. He wouldn't even tell us what song it was. Bob Dylan style, but it wasn't Bob Dylan. And then the guitar player on the gig the lead guitar player had a tendency to stop in the middle of a song and start tuning, which that is the best way I know to get a drumstick to the back of the freaking head. And I have deadly aim with the drumstick. So at the end of the gig, I was so ticked off, you guys, because between the guy yelling at the band on stage for not knowing the songs because he didn't count them off and he didn't have a set list, anything, and the guitar player, Toonie McGee over there, I was livid. He had booked the hotel room for us. I was like, cancel it, get your money back, we're driving home tonight. I drove us 8 hours straight back from a gig that didn't end till midnight off of the energy from my rage. Halfway through, we almost got ran off the road because the psycho detuning guitar player guy decided to wake up from a dead sleep and grab the wheel and try to like course correct it. The problem was I was 10-2, going straight, and he almost ran us off the road. So that was like a confirmation, like, I need to get off this freaking gig. Not every gig you're going to be on is going to be an amazing situation. And in situations like that, you just got to like endure it, right? You're out there to do a job. You're going to do it well. You're going to be respectful. And at the end of the gig, you'll be like, you know what? I don't think this is a great fit, but thank you so much for the opportunity. Or if you really want to be PC, the next time they ask you if you're available, just say you're not available. That's the best way I know to ease out of a bad situation without hurting anybody's feelings or burning any bridges, right? Sometimes you might find yourself in a situation where you have an unbelievable amount of downtime. And let's say you have to stay in the venue. I always say download Netflix or Amazon Prime or just your favorite podcast, something to, keep you focused on something else to where you don't have to complain, because nobody likes to be around somebody who's complaining, right?
I'm just a baby.
If they're asking to go to a restaurant and you're not really strict on your diet or anything like that, just be like, wherever you want to go is fine. I'm telling you, that goes such a long way, especially with an artist that is kind of moody or kind of unsure of themselves, like so many artists, especially on the way up, can be. They're unsure of who they are. They don't know if their brand is going to make it. And so anything you can do to show them that you're in their corner is going to go way further than a person who's super opinionated and he can't shut up. So one of the things that people say is that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen twice as much and talk half as much. And that's super important, especially for me, because I love to talk, as you can tell. Now, when you're out on the road, there's a lot of people that are going to be, dealing with situations. Some, your girlfriend broke up with you, your boyfriend broke up with you, whatever. Your dog's sick. The gig was crappy. You suck! Somebody threw a beer bottle at you. I mean, insert 1,000 reasons. And any one of those reasons is enough for anyone to be in a crappy mood, right? Now, the most important thing about when you're out on the road, other than being able to kill the gig, is having a positive outlook and a positive attitude. Because nobody wants to be around a giant butthole, no matter how good you are on the gig, right? Because the truth is, you spend maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours on stage with a person and 22 hours off stage. So when you're out on the road, if you're a positive, uplifting person, always got a smile on your face, always just, cracking jokes and just having a good time, not like over the top, but just like, enjoying life, people are going to be drawn to you, right? Because they see like, this dude is a light. This guy is a joy to be around. We have a great time on stage. We have a great hang, and like we have a good rapport off stage. You're going to get called back for so many freaking gigs because word travels fast when you're a butt. At the same time, when you're out on the road, if you're having a horrible day, there's nothing wrong with that. People do have those times. Maybe you had like a bad gig, or maybe the tracks went out, or maybe it rained and the gig got canceled, so your bread got like dropped by half. When you're having a situation like that, the best advice I could ever give, especially on a lower level gig where you're in such close quarters, is just keep your mouth shut. Try not to talk. Maybe just put some headphones on. Maybe watch a movie. Do something to change your outlook, change your vibe, so that you're not bringing other people down by how you're feeling. Because that's another thing that we deal with as touring musicians, is we are constantly soaking up vibes of other people. You're an emotional sponge when you're on the road. So if you're not being mindful of how you are always, it's very easy, especially like, say, when the artist is having a bad day. Like, so one of the things they say is, when the artist is having a bad day, everybody's having a bad day. So they might be super quick to get through sound check because they just want to get out of the way, or they might not talk to you all day. Both of those are totally fine. As long as there's like a level of respect there, that's totally fine. I have friends that are on mega gigs that never talk to the artist ever. They might not even see the artist till right before the show. Like, as they're walking on stage, they see the artist and then they never see him again. That's totally fine. There's a lot of different situations that you're going to run into where you might see them all the time. They might be your best freaking friend. Now, on a lower budget situation like a van or an SUV or a Sprinter, you're going to be seeing a lot of the artists. Now, they still might be quiet, or they might be super talkative. They might want to go bowling, or they might want to go to the bar, or they might want to go to the beach. And you have to be willing to roll with all of those punches, because what are you at the end of the day? You're a
L7 Weenie.
hired gun. You're a hired musician, and you're hired there to do a great job. You're hired there to be supportive, not only of the music, but of the artist and of the situation. So if you're not able to offer positive outlooks, if you're not able to just be a genuine, just good person to be around, you're gonna have a hard time. Now, there's nothing wrong with if you're not a super talkative person. I'll probably love you even more because you're just kind of holding it down. Like, that's freaking great. I have a hard time masking my emotions sometimes. So when I was out on the road, and like, let's say you're in a bus gig, just go in your bunk. It's so much easier than when you're in a lower budget situation. And usually also when you're in a situation like that where you're at the venue all day, it's very hard to hide. So maybe something like taking a walk, or, taking an Uber into town, or doing something, go see a movie, just anything to make sure that you're not in the line of fire if the artist is having a bad day. And just like I said, guys, you got to be positive. You got to be willing to go above and beyond, because that's how you really succeed in this industry. Do what other people are not at the expense of who you are as a person. You don't want to be like a whipping post. Be more professional. You don't want to be a scapegoat for like a bunch of bullcrap. So for example, like if they're having a situation where it just seems kind of chaotic, maybe see if you can help organize a bit. And then who knows, they might hire you on in a higher capacity, maybe, give you an extra $100 or an extra $50 or whatever, and that allows you to make more money, and you're making yourself more valuable to the organization. So guys, like I said, lower budget touring is a bulk of what's happening out of Nashville, especially after the quarantine, because I'm telling you, not a lot of money right now in the industry. So not a lot of bus gigs. There's gonna be a lot of people on sprinters and vans. So you have to be comfortable being in close quarters with people. So have a great attitude, shower, super important. Know your instrument and be able to do the gig really, really well, and you'll do great. All right, guys, take care. Oh, another thing is always pack twice as much underwear as you think you're gonna need.